Good morning, students. Today we will discuss about the Bhakti and Sufi movements. You know that 1206 the Delhi Sultanate Kingdom was established. From 1206 to 1857, the rulers, those who ruled our country, are the Muslims. Actually, initially, when the Delhi Sultanate Kingdom was established, here there was Indians was initially often bitter and hostile towards to whom the Delhi Sultanate rulers. Gradually, the Delhi Sultans realized that they were a very small minority in a vast country with a rich Hindu cultural heritage. Even though many Muslim rulers they were adopted the religious intolerance policy. Even the Delhi Sultans, even after the Delhi Sultans, the whole India came under the control of Mughals. Even the Mughal rule also. Even the in Mughal rule also, many rulers followed the policy of religious intolerance. Only the one Mughal ruler followed the policy of religious tolerance is Akbar. Even hence they thought it prudent not to disturb predominantly Hindu cultural fabric of the country. See, even they were adopted the religious intolerance policy, even though some rulers they don't want to disturb the predominantly Hindu cultural fabric in our country. So, along with Islam, Hinduism, Jainism, Christianity, and other, so even the religious also flourished in our country. So, along with Hindu and the Muslim cultures flowed peacefully alongside each other. Even Islam and the Hinduism flowed peacefully alongside each other, influencing and enriching one another. The new cultural forces and patterns were emerged in our nation. How? Because these both Hinduism and the Islam so run parallel streams along with each other. Because of that reason, the new cultural forces and patterns were emerged in our country. So after that, after the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate only, the Islam was entered to our country. As the spirit of tolerance and understanding developed between the Hindus and the Muslims, because a prolonged period of time, the spirit and tolerance and understanding developed between both Hindus and Muslims is caused for the rise of a two liberal movements in our country. These liberal movements or the religious reform movements are called, one is the Sufi movement and another one is the Bhakti movement. Because prolonged period of the spirit of tolerance and understanding developed between both Hindus and the Muslims. As a result of this reason, two liberal religious reforms took shape in the medieval period. The one movement is called as the Sufi movement and another one is the Bhakti movement. What were the causes for the rise of Sufi movement? After the death of Prophet Muhammad, religious differences arose between, there are two sects of the Muslim community. One is called Shias and another one is called as Sunnis. Between these two community, the religious differences arose. When the religious differences arose between these two community people, to what? To mitigate or to reduce the differences, the Sufi movement was raised. These led to the prolonged mutual hostility and bitter quarrels between the two sects. The fundamental differences between the Shias and Sunnis, the causing for a what? The prolonged mutual hostility, quarrels, enmity between these Shias and Sunnis. When the religious conflict arose between these Shias and Sunnis, marked the extreme intolerance Shias are never accepted the Sunnis fundamental truth. The Sunnis are never accepted the fundamental truth of Shias because it is causing for what? So intolerance was developed among these two group of the Muslims at the same time, and it was a very serious threat to the Islamic principles of the brotherhood and monotheism. The Islam always propagated the brotherhood and monotheism because even it is a what? The quarrels between these two groups, it was a very great serious threat to the Islamic principles of the brotherhood and the monotheism because the Muslims believe in one God and they are always treated as all are brothers and the sister. There was an increasing tendency among the Muslims, rulers and nobles to live a life of luxury because according to Islam, the Muslims should not live in luxurious lives. This was opposed to the Islamic principles of simple living. Actually, the Muslim has to live a simple lifestyle. Instead, the many rulers, the nobles, adopted the luxurious lifestyle, the lavish lifestyle, and they were collected the more and more wealth. So, Sufism arose as a reaction and response to these trends in Muslim society. What was the trend? The intolerance between Shia and Sunnis. They were quarreled between each other, and it was posed a very serious threat to the Islamic principles of brotherhood and monotheism. Along with this one, even tendency among the Muslims to lead the luxurious and lavish lifestyle, and even instead of the simple living, they were began to lead a luxurious lifestyle and they were collected the more and more wealth. Because of that reason, there is a liberal reform movement was started to restore unity and harmony among the Muslims. What were the causes of the rise of Bhakti movement? With the passage of a time, Hindu religion had become rigid and complex. Here, during the early Vedic period, Hinduism was very simple. But during the later Vedic period, Hinduism became the more rigid and complex. In the name of religion, many evil practices, bad practices, and beliefs had crept into the Hindu society. Because of that reason, the Hinduism lost its original purity. Second factor, rigid caste system. Just you studied about the early Vedic civilization and later Vedic civilization in the 6th standard, is it? During the early Vedic period, there was no rigid caste system. One who born as Brahmin, he could convert as a Kshatriya. One who born as Kshatriya, he could convert as a Brahmin, vice versa. But during the later Vedic period, and the caste system became rigid, and the social inequalities arose, injustice was arose, and the exploitation and oppression of the lower caste by the high classes people, or the people those who themselves called as a high esteem in the society. The third factor which is responsible for the rise of the Bhakti movement is in Hinduism. In the name of religion, meaningless rituals and the sacrifices were performed. If someone is asking any solution for the Brahmins or the priestly classes people, they were prescribed by the Brahmins to perform these yajna and yagas, or the rituals and the sacrifices. It is actually a financial burden to the poor people, because it is a financially burden for the common people. The common people could not perform such even the expensive the rituals and the sacrifices. Especially fourth factor, people belong to the lower caste, especially they were called as Shudras or untouchables. The people, those who were belonging for the lower caste, especially the Shudras, or they can call as untouchables, could not even understand the hymns and mantras of the Brahmins, or so even what the Brahmins are chanting. And one more restriction, these Shudras and untouchables were not permitted to study the Sanskrit religious text. The study of the Sanskrit religious text is only the monopoly of the Brahmins. At the same time, one more factor, it is attracted the large number of Hindus. The Islamic principles of equality, brotherhood, and monotheism appealed to liberate-minded Hindus and fostered the growth of the religious movement within Hinduism. See, during the time, Islam is always promoting the monotheism and universal brotherhood and equality principle. So many Hindu people, they were began to convert towards what? The Muslim. Because of all this reason, slowly and gradually, the Bhakti movement was began. So because whole masses of our country, it was a strange world of the priestly classes people, and read the what? The Hinduism of the meaningless rites and rituals led to the birth of the Bhakti movement. Because the priestly classes people, they are always suggesting to perform the expensive and costly ritual and sacrifices, and the common people could not so perform these such expensive the rituals and sacrifices. Even the common people could not understand the Sanskrit religious text, and the study of the religious text is a monopoly of the Brahmins. Because to so eradicate all these so inequalities, the Bhakti movement was began. It would revive the principles of monotheism. The Bhakti movement is also argued or the propagated for to believe in one single God, and it is also uplifted the principle of equality, and it is also even stressed more on the ritual free worship. No need of to perform any kind of the rituals and the sacrifices to please the God. Only intense the devotion is needed to please the God. And restored Hinduism, it's to original simplicity and purity. The Bhakti movement, it was restored the what? The Hinduism for its original purity and the simplicity. Next, the Sufi movement. The Sufi movement, Sufis were a group of Muslim mystic who started the religious reform movement in West Asia. The Sufis were a group of Muslim mystic people where they were started the religious reform movement in the beginning in the West Asia. So these people who tried to attain knowledge, these Muslim, the mystic people, they were trying to attain the knowledge and become united with the God through the prayer and meditation. The Sufi saints, they were always uplifted or stressed more on intense prayer, meditation and the devotion. Actually, the Sufi movement was originally reform movement. Sufi movement was originally reform movement within Islam. Sufi movement was a originally reform movement within Islam. Sufis were inspired by the teachings of Quran, from where the Sufi saints drew their inspiration from Quran. The Sufis came to India with the Turks in the 12th century. When the Sufis was arrived to India in the beginning of the 12th century, along with the Turks, the Sufis also came to India. Over the years, they absorbed or assimilated the Buddhist, Hindu influences and were greatly respected by the Muslims as well as the Hindus. Here, the Sufi saints arrived to India along with Turks in the 12th century. When they came and they were absorbed Hinduism and the Buddhism influences, and they were greatly respected by the Muslim as well as the Hindus, Sufi saints. Suppose in Karnataka, Santa Shishnala Sharipa is also one of the important the Sufi saint. How the Buddhist monks they were formed their own sanghas. In the similar way, Sufis are established several monastic organizations. How the Buddhist monks they were organized their own sanghas. In the similar way, Sufi saints they were even formed their own monastic organization called silsilas. What? Even the organizations were formed by the Sufi saints were called silsilas. Two of these organizations are Sufi saints, they were formed their own organization called silsilas. There are two these organizations exist in our country. One is Chisti. One is Chisti organization and another one is Suharvardi and another one is the Suharvardi. These two are became popular in India. Which were the two? So Muslim Sufi monastic organizations were the popular in our country. One is Chisti monastic organization. Second one is Suharvardi monastic organization. The founder of the Sufi movement in India was Moinuddin Chisti, who was the founder of the Sufi movement in India. Moinuddin Chisti was the founder of the Sufi movement in India. Moinuddin Chisti is Dargah or the tomb in Ajmer. Whose tomb at Ajmer? The Moinuddin Chisti Dargah at Ajmer. So it is an important the pilgrimage center for both Muslims and Hindus. See, the Sufi saints were the greatly respected from Muslims as well as Hindus because who was the founder of the Sufi movement in India? Moinuddin Chisti is Dargah at Ajmer. So it is an important the pilgrimage center. So here it is one of the pilgrimage center for both Hindus and the Muslims. What were the teachings of Sufism? Even Sufi saints they were highlighted and they were stressed more and more on monotheism or to believe in one single God and all people are his children. And they were uplifted the principle of equality. Mean, so here all human beings are equal. No differences on the basis of social status, political status or economic status. We are all the belonging for the one. We are all the children of one God. There is no differences between us. We are all equal. And they were stressed that different religions are showing the different paths to reach one single God. The different religions are showing the different paths to reach one single God. The God is omnipresent. God is omnipresent means the God is present at everywhere. Therefore, all religions must be respected. Whether you belonging for any religion, Islam, Hinduism, Jain, the Buddhism. Different religions are showing different paths to reach one single God. Means every religion has its own true element. Therefore, all religions must be respected. Fast and other rituals are not necessary to reach the God. No need of fasting, no need of the performing any kind of the rituals and the sacrifices to please the God. God can be reached only through love and intense devotion. No need of to even conduct fasting or conduct the meaningless the rituals and sacrifices. The instead of to perform this, God can be reached through love and intense devotion. There is no need to convert another religion. No need of convert for any other religion. One should strive to be a good Hindu or a good Muslim. So no need of to convert for any religion. So one should strive to be a good Hindu or the Muslim. So and the one lead a pure and disciplined life. It is necessary to follow a peer. Peer means guru or teacher. So it is necessary to follow a peer because the guru or the teacher as who will guide a person along the right spiritual path, who will guide us in the right spiritual path. The peer, guru or teacher, the his guidance is the very essential to go through a what? Along the right spiritual path. One could come closer to God through devotional music. So, Sufi saints popularized the devotional music called as the Qawwali. Who popularized the devotional music called as the Qawwali. The Sufi saints popularized the devotional music called as the Qawwali. The liberal ideas and the rational principles of Sufism had a profound impact on the people and the rulers because the teachings of Sufism are very simple. Because of these liberal ideas and the rational principles, the Sufism had a profound impact on the people and the rulers. It encouraged religious tolerance, promoted the idea of universal brotherhood, uplifted the principle of equality, and so because of that reason, so it brought Hindus and Muslims closer to one another.